nose, but it's all
Here we
good.
go. Here we go. The best part is that I can see your hands.
Yeah, that's
Welcome
it.
everyone to SVK Media Network. We have a legend on here. A legend in the oyster world. Why now Shucker Paddy? Why Shucker Paddy? Patrick.
What's that? Is this?
I'm going to move the thing here. Here we go. There you are. Welcome to the show. First of all.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Nice to see you.
So why your name change? Why is this? I see it everywhere. Like you Google this, you come up.
This is the Shucker Paddy is a thing. I learned this in 2009 when I first got onto Twitter, pre-Instagram. People were telling me about this social media thing, and I don't know, so it asks you, what do you want to call yourself? I'm like, Patrick McMurray does not really flow very nicely off the tongue. So I kind of went, what do I do? I'm a Shucker Paddy. That kind of works. Tapped it in, Shucker Paddy. That was the same year that the group that builds this is Swiss Mars, my knife. I designed and built this knife. So the president asked me, he goes, what do you want to call it? I go, let's call it Shucker Paddy, because that's my Twitter handle now. And so it's all stemmed from that. And in good marketing, although I don't have a marketing degree, I have a kinesiology degree. You just brand everything. I've become now, Shucker Paddy's become a brand.
It is. You're on Amazon.
Yeah, the knife is in Amazon. The book is in Amazon. So I wrote a book about oysters and stuff. But
really thick book, by the way.
Yeah, it's again, not bad for a jock with a kinesiology degree. Trying to pull an essay out of me in grade 9 is like pulling teeth.
That's not a 40-page book. That's a few hundred.
I got one for you. I'm gonna bring it to the restaurant show for you. Just got a fresh batch of them. It's 200 and some odd pages of actual words that this is how I type. This is how kids type nowadays. I type like this on the computer. We tell students at Centennial, it's like, I used to type on a thing called a typewriter.
Wow. Yeah. I was actually. Do you remember that? And the key things would stick.
Whiteout.
Hit the tape, and the whiteout, and then they came. We thought it was high tech when they brought the little white tape.
The best. Oh yeah, the white tape was really cool.
Remember the white tape?
That was getting a ditto. A ditto. Is it an exam? Pass? Wait. Oh, it's so fresh.
It's a ditto.
That's where I developed my olfactory nose palate.
So kinesiology. You have a degree in kinesiology, right?
The broader context of what Shucker Paddy is and Patrick McMurray is. Yes, I've been in the restaurant trade since I was 16. Well, my first job was a butcher's apprentice at 14. Then I graduated.
14.
Butcher. Working Friday afternoon after school and Saturdays at the local butcher shop. Sawdust on the floor. I was the guy who swept up the sawdust and scraped the block and everything.
No way.
But then I got to learn how to cut meat, which was really kind of cool as well. I really enjoyed that part. But at 16, 2 years later, they retired, and I got a job downtown at Beaujolais restaurant with Bob Berman, who is now one of the chefs over at Barbarian Steakhouse. So I've learned from, I worked there. I worked at Le Bastingo with Georges Gagnon. I worked at Beaujolais. I worked with Simon Bauer in like 3 of his entities.
Wow.
And then throughout university, I have a degree. Like I applied for kinesiology because I wanted to become a teacher. Both my parents are teachers.
Yeah.
So I went through kinesiology, and during that time, the first weekend, I'm like going, do you guys run pubs? Nobody runs the pub. Why doesn't anybody run the pub? There's like a monthly pub that, so I became social director the second year. So for 4 years, 5-year degree, 4 years, I was social director organizing the pubs because I just wanted to organize pubs. I didn't know that this was all going to end up helping train me into organizing events, special events, and eventually my own restaurant. So I then worked at Rodney's Oyster House for 8.5 years after graduating, because I didn't get into teacher's college, but I just started working, and I figured out, as a kid at 16, I go, this restaurant gig's fun. You got food and you get the monies and you're out on Friday night and it's good, but it's not a real career. You got to go 9 to 5 for a real career. That's all I knew as a 16-year-old kid. So teaching was my bag. It was going to be my thing because those 2 months in the summer. and my parents were teachers. But as I didn't get into teachers college, I started working at Rodney's and realizing I can actually pay bills living in the restaurant trade, and I actually like this. I always wanted it as a life goal to retire out. That's a good life goal, eh? Make enough money teaching so I can buy a restaurant and work all the time when I'm retired. 16-year-old life goal right there. But I flipped it all around. And so I worked at Rodney's Oyster House for 8.5 years, and then opportunity came with a friend of the family that said, we're in the construction trade. We would like to build a restaurant because we love food. We love what you do here. Would you like to build a restaurant? So that's where this place, whoop, Starfish. That's Starfish right there. That's my first sign. I painted that one myself. Ooh,
serious?
Yep. That's the Starfish sign right there when I went out catering, just as I was opening up. And this is me here. Why is everything backwards? Right here. This one. It's the thing. There. This one. This is me. Right in 2002. That's me winning the World Championships. That's 4 months after I opened Starfish. I won the World Championships. And before social media, there was this thing called media. And it was newspapers and magazines, and they wrote about Now Magazine, Maclean's Magazine. All of these are newspapers. And that's where the promotion end of things came in, and I learned how to do that for my own restaurant, Starfish. So winning the World Championships was a valuable piece of marketing for me. Wow. You know, World Champion Oyster Shucking is an oyster bar. And that's what Starfish was. Starfish ran for 14 years. It's flipped over now. It's called Pearl Diver. And it's still being run, and the crew there is excellent and do some great stuff with oysters and whatnot.
You're still a part of that?
I'm not a part of that, no. I kind of... I built Kaylee Cottage in 2009, 2010, which is when the social media thing started with the Twitter. The first thing that I did when I learned about the Twitter thing, and I called myself Shucker Paddy, I go, okay, I'm at Kaylee Cottage. I took a picture of this cask ale that's from Durham Brewing Company. It's now called Say What Durham. They do this fabulous cask called Red Dragon. And I just changed the cask over. So it's a real ale tap, right? And you pump the thing up and it makes it... Took a picture of it. I go, just changed the cask to Red Dragon at the Kaylee Cottage. Beep, tweet, and it goes off. 3 hours later, 3 guys come into the place and they go, we'd like to have 3 Red Dragons, please. We just read about it. I'm like, read? Did I? Now Magazine, Toronto Life? I didn't talk to any newspapers. Like, where did you read this? They go, Twitter. I'm like,
serious?
People read this thing? What?
What year was that? What year was that?
So I tell all my students, I go, this is why you do social media, because there's no other outlet. I bought one advertisement for Starfish once. $2,500 it cost me for a business card size ad in the newspaper. I love Toronto Life. Don't get me wrong. They're fantastic. And James Chatto at the time was always the best at reporting and describing all the restaurants and whatnot. It's the best thing to go for. But I couldn't afford more than once. $2,500, I think my mom saw it. That's about it. But the social media was instantaneous, and so I've just been building it ever since then.
What year was that? What year did you start then? 2008?
2009, I think. 2009. I think 2008 Facebook, 2009 Twitter, and then 2011 I think is when Insta started kind of rolling in or whatnot. Maybe 10. But I'm not big on it. Like I'm not like an influencer or anything like that. I've just developed my program into using that as a medium. And it's super valuable because it gets my wife gives me a certain budget to do stuff with, and it's like no money fun. So it costs no money. You can do whatever you want, Patty, as long as there's no money insurance. So Instagram works really well that way, and I've developed it. It kind of does what it does, right? And I'm trying to learn a little bit more about it.
But Patrick, do you spend like every day on it? Or do you spend every week on it? Like, what do you do?
You know, I've seen the latest things. They want you to do a post 3 times a day, 2 in the morning, 2 at lunch, 2 at dinner, and post to the grid. That's stories. And post to the grid once a day. That's what they're wanting to do now. Less hashtags, only 5. Only 5. So they changed the rules, and I watch the people who say what to do, and I can't post that. I have 400.
I'm going to bring up your screen here because I hate to say it. Do you have a wicked site?
I have to work on my website.
No, I know. No, your Instagram feed is awesome, dude.
Yeah, I try to. Oh, the clam thing just went really well. That was for April Fool's Day.
What's this?
Oh, that was last night before.
This was last night?
Yeah, that's what I was night before. I was out shucking oysters for a wrap party, And the one that's most recent today, the group of 4 there, that's me prepping up for the Masters. I'm going to the Masters on the weekend. So that's that golf thing. And there's a VIP suite there. Yeah, and I run an oyster bar at a VIP suite for 4 days. And then the stack of books was really nice. That was a repost from another group who has my book is at the top of the stack, which is like very
nice.
Thanks very much. I keep forgetting I'm an author theoretically because you have one of these things. And I'm the worst author ever because I like don't promote the book. I keep forgetting, so I'll put it in there every so often.
These are wicked pictures, dude.
Well,
it's everywhere.
It's important. The whiskey, what I love. I'm doing the Toronto Spirit thing. I'm bringing oysters to that. We're matching whiskeys and spirits with oysters. Having a grand time with that. That's me in Dubai because like they have oysters in Dubai. Anywhere ocean touches land. And then before that, I did Miami. So
is it new in Dubai? Is it a big thing in Dubai? Like it's new, or is it
getting bigger and bigger? The grower Dibba Bay started growing in 2016, and he's a Scottish fella who was born in Dubai with Scottish parents from Edinburgh. McMurray, fantastic. But he's grown up in Dubai in this culture of massive building and really lots of fun things, and for some reason he started wanting to grow oysters. So he gets a seed out of France using a French seed stock and then grows them aquaculture wise in Dubai. It takes 9 months to grow an oyster about this size, which in Prince Edward Island takes 5 years. The main reason
it takes 9 months versus 5 years.
9 months to flip out an oyster to market grade size because it's super nutrient rich water. There's over 40 or 50 different types of phytoplankton alone that the oysters are feeding on. And they have great depth of water. So they can lower the oyster to a certain depth when it's warmer out because it's the desert. So it's usually at 10 meters, but they can drop it down to 15 or 20 so that they can keep the oyster well chilled and still grows. It's a fantastic process. And but the flavor and texture, I got a great picture of one of them on the Insta feed there. It was so good. And so this is their second year of doing an oyster festival. So because of my doing this thing here, the
Show me
championship.
Show me here. Give me a second.
And then the Guinness Book of World Records. Scroll down.
Which one is?
So scroll down to you'll have to pop onto one of them. So scroll back up.
This one?
Where's their multiple pictures? Oh, that one there. Oh, and turn to left. See where I'm in the middle? Next one up. The oyster picture.
Oh, that one?
That one there. No. Next one over. Next one over. The picture of the oyster.
I'm enjoying all your pictures, though. This one?
No. Next one over to your left. There.
This one.
That one there. So you can look at this. So this is a Dibba Bay oyster right here. It's a Pacific oyster, seed stock from France. But look at the lip of it.
So what are you looking for here? You gotta tell me. You gotta teach me some stuff here. What am I looking at here?
You're looking at the oyster from
here,
top side. So where your little pointer is the back. That's the hinge, and you would eat it from the front side, which is the lip. Right.
Here's the lip.
In the middle, you've got this round thing called a Dr. Muscle, the button. It's a scallop, so it's got the sweetness to it. And what the top part of it, you see this lovely little line that sort of circles everything around. This one is showcasing stupendously fat. It's looking really ruffled and full and plump as it is, and it should be because it's just out of the water, less than 18 hours at this point in time from this picture, and super full, ready to go. Really delicious oyster overall, but really good looking oyster as well. That's what you want in a good looking oyster. So this is what the Instagram is good for.
This is a good looking. This is a good looking.
That's a good looking oyster. I generally prefer, and now Dibba is great because they're super sustainable. Everything they build in sea can. So this is their bar at the marina, built in a shipping container, and it's just a small little kitchen, and everyone sits outside because, hey, it's Dubai. It rains twice a year, and I was there when it rained. Literally, I visited the oyster farm, and they go, it never rains here.
It's kind of cool. What's happening here? What's happening here, Pat?
Caviar. That's the latest as far as trends go for oysters. Toppings are the thing, and now it's always been sauces, but now it's like extra decadence. Let's do caviar. Let's do some uni. let's do a little sliver of lobster or a bisque or whatnot,
Really?
and just have it all well chilled. Crazy.
All cold though.
Cold chill. Yeah. Delicious. Although it's really good, actually. And this is, that's Remy Murray there. And that's Julie in the Half Shell blog, Julie Chu, she's an oyster blogger, writer person. And all of this product here, you see the veg, there's an arugula salad with a brattura grown locally in Dubai. So they have a great rapport with local farmers at Diba Bay. And they want to get in and showcase everything. Even the salmon, the smoked salmon, is grown and then smoked in Dubai, in the region. So it's fantastic. She's taking product as the desert and then growing things and then showcasing it at a restaurant. So it's really fun. Short menu, but beautiful, well done.
It's incredible.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun to do these things.
Look at that.
I'm fortunate this way is because of World Championship, Guinness Book of World Records, and all that oyster thing. But the thing with me though, as well, is I actually have restaurant background, so I know how to produce and execute and serve not just the oyster but everything, and how to create the whole thing. So they bring me in, and I was giving them 101 tips here, there, and everywhere to work on a couple of things and showcase stuff. They like to do a summer and a winter sauce, and that's what these toppings are: tamarind summer, and the other one is sort of a beet winter. Mignonette is what they were doing. It's hard to believe that there is a winter in Dubai, in the desert, but there is. It was only 35 degrees. I can't imagine summer, seriously. So it was a good looking crew, having some fun with them, and the whole works. And that's the fun of being able to go out and trip all over the place. I just missed you there. I can't hear you.
There you go. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I got you now.
I was going to say, what's the future? What's your next step? You've conquered all this stuff. You've been on shows galore. Yeah. You're almost like on a show every week.
Well, I try not to be.
Did you ever think it'd be this big?
I got the call I do a lot of work with Ireland Tourism, again, because I had an Irish bar, Keely Cottage. I do a lot of work with Ireland Tourism and Patrick McMurray dealing with Irish oysters. I talk about the food all the time. And literally for St. Pat's on the 17th, I called them out on the 15th. I go, you got anything going on? I congratulations, have a nice time. Have a great day. No, we got nothing. Cool. Next morning, she calls me up, Patty, can you go on breakfast television on the 17th in the morning? I'm like, yeah, okay. Full Irish breakfast, the whole works. So spent the day making that to showcase on BT. But for me, the next thing is a lot of festivals. So I'll be doing the BC Shellfish Festival in Comox, BC in June. And I'm doing the Prince Edward Island Shellfish Festival in September. Both of them are 3-day weekends. So I come in on a day and there's events going on every single day. On top of that, then there's Galway Festival at the end of September. I just got asked to do this the Scottish Festival in Stranraer, Scotland, which I helped organize at the beginning 5 years ago. It's same weekend as PEI, so I can't make it this year, but I'm going to try and figure out some way of doing something virtually with some friends who are there. So there's a lot of festivals, and we got some stuff going on inside the city as well, working with a couple of clients, and I'm doing a lot of consultation. So I've got clients in New York that I'm working with to help develop their oyster program, which I think is important when it comes down to it. A lot of restaurants try to do oyster, or I want to put oyster on for happy hour. I go, you can't do it just as a happy hour. Put them on all the time. It's really easy. Oystering is technically easy. Look at this. You think this is a rocket science? No, it's a Shucker science. It's not super hard. So you put a box of oysters in your fridge and you serve them on your menu all the time. Just get very good at opening oysters. Then you can do a happy hour. It really works a lot better. And I learned that from Keely Cottage. I didn't think oysters would be very popular at an Irish bar in 2009 because I was still stuck in this starfish oyster bar type of thing. Everyone just goes there. But we had people walk in the door and order 2 dozen oysters just because it's on a menu. That's good for the city of Toronto, good for the oyster, because we've got so well known in Canada and North America for producing great oysters and available all the time that consumers are fine. Let's just have oysters while we're here. So it makes it what I call the fourth course. Most restaurateurs know of an appetizer, main, dessert. Oyster fits in sort of just between drink and appetizer, or between appetizer and dinner and mains. And as a server, you can come in and go, hey, how you doing? Nice to see you. Want a couple of drinks? Super. While we're getting those drinks, who wants a plate of oysters between the group? Yeah? Okay, a dozen oysters done. You've already upsold in 32 seconds. You've upsold $30, a dozen oysters. All you need is one person who can actually produce something nicely, and that's where I come into play. You got to learn how to shuck nice people. I'm looking at you.
But so how hard is it then to train people to shuck oysters in a restaurant?
It's just technique. Again, this goes back to my kinesiology. So I created this. This makes it a little easier to open up oyster, but it doesn't matter whether you're using this knife or any other knife or whatnot. You got to look at the technique. There's an anatomy to the oyster. So going in through the hinge, popping it up, and then cutting across the top to remove the adductor muscle and then serve it nicely. Takes like any other knife technique. You're learning how to julienne, your carrots or whatnot. Yeah. You got to learn how to do this. It's a technique, and nobody's spent a lot of time on it, except for oyster shuckers. So what I'm doing with Julie Chu is we're working on this concept of a sommelier program that we can online teach, train, educate, and certify people for their level of shuckability.
Does that exist? Does that exist? Like being certified?
That exists like that. That's why we've got to write it. So I've got some stuff that I do online right now, and with my teaching background, I've learned how to create courses and break it down. And so Julie and I are creating this thing called Oyster Master Guild, which will be sort of the onset of like a wine sommelier course, but in Oyster World. Now again, it's Oyster's teeny tiny little world, but if you start somewhere, you can branch off and do other things as well. It just needs to be, because the level of oystering, we need help out there. That's what I think.
So oysters are growing in popularity on menus. Do you see it, or is it decreasing? Is it staying the same?
It's a perpetual upswing. I've only been oystering for about 30 years, and every year there's something in the media going, "Oh, this new thing is oyster. Check out an oyster. It's the newest, latest, greatest thing." It's that if you ever been to a casino,
okay,
and you listen to the music on the inside, it's a perpetual upswing of music.
Yeah.
Constant. Science proved to them that if you played that music versus means that you're going to be winning. It feels that you're going to be winning. So it's a perpetual upswing of oyster-related information and people loving it, new generations getting into it. It's a generational thing. It's how you've learned to enjoy this oyster. People have to show you. There's no lesson for this in any situation. No school they showcase oyster at Centennial or George Brown on Fish Day, and oyster becomes a 5-minute section of oyster. Now, I'm not saying, and I know from everybody, it's not the most important thing in the world unless you're an oyster bar, but it's a very niche market. And if you can get more knowledge about it, it's only going to benefit you as a server bartender. See, all I want to do is I want to get busboys, dishwashers, bartenders to learn how to shuck oysters, because chef is going to give it to the dishwasher and the busboy first, because they're expendable if they cut themselves. But to get out,
I never heard of that. Okay.
This is what they do.
I love it. Dude.
I love Michael Smith. He's fabulous. Chef Michael. And he comes to Kaylee Cottage once, and he comes to me, he goes, Patty, and I've known him for 100 years. He goes, Patty, let's do a shucking contest. I'm like, against you, chef? Like what? He's like, no, let's just it'll be fun. We'll just do this. I go, okay. So, but I told my bartender, I said, I'm going to blindfold myself. I got to give him a handicap. So I blindfold myself, and I told my barman, I'm going to drink a half pint of beer blindfolded while he's shucking normal style. And he was like, yeah. So I get in there and I shuck my 6 oysters, and he's barely finished 1 or 2. And at the end of it, he goes, I just give it to my busboy, my dishwasher. I go, I know, because I came from that level. I was a busboy to start with when in these things, and that's the level of people where you start with oystering. It can get you out of the dish pit. It can get you out of the busboy situation, the junior waiter. And as a bartender, if you can shuck oysters and mix cocktails, and you had a choice between 2 bartenders to hire, I'm going to take the one who can shuck oysters as well. It's just, it's a tool that I think a lot of people, it's a beneficial tool for people when as a work project to go. So that's why I'm working on it, to do those type of things.
I think it's brilliant, first of all.
I know I am. Sorry.
I know. I think it's a brilliant idea. I think it's a brilliant idea because I think we need to do that. I always think that the restaurant industry needs more experiences, and I think this. I remember back in the day we had an oyster bar in the restaurant I ran at the very front. And
what one was this?
This was way back in the Earls days. Way back. This is northern Alberta.
Earls. Yeah. Earls is known. Oh, was this in Winnipeg?
No. This was in Alberta.
In Alberta.
Northern Alberta. Yeah. We had a bar at the front. It was an oyster bar dedicated. We had the well and everything set up for it. And then it just dwindled off at the time. It just was. I don't know if the volume was there, but I don't know if we educated the staff, and we didn't educate the customers on the whole experience.
Well, this is where it comes into play because it's not the chef. The chef's going to want. I want to. Let's bring it in. It's not the chef. It's the service. So when I'm consulting to my groups in New York that I'm consulting with, there's a group called Flex Muscles that I've been working with. So first thing first, I told him, I go, it's owner's great, chef's fine, no problem. I want to talk to all your servers. That's who I want to talk with. And I'm going to create a class and that the servers will listen to. They can watch on their phone, and they go through this class, and those words that I say, this is what you want to do to talk about it. There's one oyster that's the easiest one to describe in this sense is a European flat. It's the Maine Ballon oyster. It's a short run season. It's September through May. That's it. It's a big, bold, oceany flavored oyster, and there's only 3 growers. It's up in Maine. You can get imports, but it's highly prized in an oyster bar menu. And the way to describe it, there's 2 ways of describing it. The first way you would hear people is it's big, salty, fat, meaty oyster, and it tastes like licking pennies. That's one way. Or you could say it's got a bold ocean sea salt to it. It's got sweet cream, a little bit of driftwood, earthiness, wet stone, and a dry tannic finish. Which one sounds better?
Yeah, I was going to say not the penny one, not the penny one.
Yeah.
I'm sure servers have said that, though.
It comes off with a coppery taste in the finish of it, as does anything like a dry red wine gets this tannic finish on your palate, very dry. But this, and the oyster comes off with a slightly metallic, coppery, brassy finish. Think about, all I'm asking people to do in the service end of things is think about the words. His mom would always say, use your words. Think about what you're tasting, which is hard. It's very, very hard to do.
Yeah.
So in this thing, in the oyster book, I created this thing called a tasting wheel.
So is this tasting wheel that you create, Patrick?
Yeah.
Is this like right out of your head?
Well, it was the same idea when I was explaining to people. There's a tasting wheel for oysters there.
Serious?
There is, because I wrote about it in this book.
Are you kidding me?
No, I created it. I did a little drawing, gave it to my publisher, and they did a better rendition. So it starts up here and it goes around there. And the concept is that it's got from the mildest flavors up to the most complex. Off flavors are in the middle. Then it's got the nose and the texture and the mouthfeel. So everything that you can think of in the wine world parallels into oyster world, which is why oyster sommelier tends to be the best thing. Now that's oyster sommelier would be something in the knowledge base, but then the shucker also has to have a different level. People like Eamon Clark from Rodney's Oyster House, 10-time Canadian champion, guy is like butter. There's a dozen different shuckers that are top notch, that are fantastic, and they usually all work at oyster bars. And they'll be the top level. And then there's ones who are entry level. And then you see all the ones that happen on the Instagram, and you'll see oysters that do not look like the one you just saw out of my feed. And you see them that looks like someone, here you go, here's your oyster, and they all think it's fine. We're like, that's where Julie comes in. She's like, no, this is not good. And I go, I agree. We have to set that level of expectation that all chefs want eyes eat first. They want to make sure that their plates look perfect, center plate protein, sides, everything is perfect. And then comes oyster like, whatever. It's the whatever factor that can actually change their bottom line to something that will actually do business for them. Wow. Because oyster people are adventurous eaters, period. Period.
Yeah, they are. That's a really good point. It's a really good point.
What you want is people who are adventurous, die hard, and will come back time and time again. The oyster people, and this is what I told the knife guys. I go, you're not making a butter knife, right? You're making an oyster knife. Not everyone's going to want this, but everyone who does is going to buy 5. They want one for them, for Uncle Joe. Someone stole their knife. They got to replace it. One for the cottage, one for their purse. I don't know. And they do. They buy lots, which is kind of a fun weird thing. it's such a niche world that if you install the Oyster program properly and do proper programming, my programming is 7/12/365, 7 days a week. So you can have your Malpec Monday and your Toonie Tuesday, whatever you want to call it, on a weekly basis. Then you do one big thing a month, and you can have oysters 365. You can get great oysters all year long. Gone are the days that you have to have the oyster season.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember the oyster season. That's gone now.
There are specific reasons. You won't get all oysters. There are seasonal oysters. The edgeless oyster that I just spoke about, the Maine Ballon, actually is the one oyster that, when you think about months without an R and that old saying, it's based on a European oyster. It's based in England in the 1500s. Two things happen. One, it's the species. When it reproduces, holds its young in its gills. So it gets very silty, filled with caviar, and you'll shorten the stock if you eat it at that same time. Wow. So May to September is when that season is. Two, since the 1500s, they've invented two things: refrigeration and transportation. So you can get oysters anywhere, anytime. Those are the things that people don't think about. Months without an R. Now, a lot of people in North America still adhere to that if they're in Oyster South region. So the southern states, Gulf of Mexico, probably totally adheres to that now because of global warming and climate change. The waters are too warm. They're getting to a point where they're too warm to actually grow all year long. They're too warm to harvest in the warm season. So actually, Acme Oyster Bar in New Orleans is buying Prince Edward Island oysters because we have cold water oysters. That's the benefit of cold water oysters. They take longer to grow, but they've got also a great shelf life because they understand what a fridge is, and they're coming from super cold, clean, delicious waters. So,
now I have to ask you this, and this maybe I'm going to ask you crazy questions, but
crazy's good.
Are oysters good for you? Like, are they good for you? Like, I've heard so many rumors about this.
Stupendously good for you, and I'm going to say this here, and because I've got science to back it up. It is the most planet-friendly, sustainable protein compared to anything, including plant-based. Serious? What do plants need to grow?
Water, sunlight
and
water, air, water, irrigation. Yeah,
irrigation. Oysters do not need irrigation. They're in the water. They need sunlight. They get sunlight. They get sunlight for the phytoplankton to grow, and they feed on that. Mother Nature feeds them the whole way. Farmers just hold them in a section. So there's a paper that was done in 2021 that compared proteins on greenhouse gas emissions, protein that's produced, water usage, and other different things. Cattle versus pork versus chicken versus fish versus shellfish. Shellfish, nothing. Zero. Serious. And everything was like, because cows, I love beef. I'm a steak guy. I'm going to a barbecue now. A bathtub of water a day per animal.
I know.
18 months. So water usage is there. Now there's sustainable ways of husbandry that, pasture raised and growing them properly. That's perfectly fine. Oyster is just one of those proteins, super high in protein, very low in fat, highest amount of zinc you can have in any natural food source. And that does two things: keeps you healthy, boosts your immunity, and technically drives the libido.
I was going to ask. I heard libido. Yeah, I heard oysters.
It's one of those things that aphrodisiac wise, it's whatever floats your boat. Technically, if you don't like chocolate, it's not going to work for you. Who doesn't like chocolate? So if you like oysters, it will work for you. But also, it's got a scientific. Talking about science and sex is not really sexy. So it's like, technically speaking,
it depends.
So that doesn't get you any dates. Well, that you're married and all that.
Now, are there scientists? Talking about with scientists, is there scientists doing anything crazy with oysters right now?
There's several different things that I super geek, follow a lot of research papers and things as well. They're all looking at the protein sustainability and what we should do. There was a couple of scientists showcasing oysters for zinc deficient nations, because we can get oysters growing pretty well anywhere where ocean touches land. So it becomes a place. Namibia was protein and zinc deficient. They decided of all the proteins, what were they going to really invest in? Oyster farming. Versus because they don't have great land to cattle and all that type of stuff, and there's the Namibian oyster now, so it's like a fantastic thing to get into. We look at all of the nutrient value for it. It's basically oysters feed on seaweed. So you've heard of everyone eating algae and seaweed or whatnot. The oysters feed on that. It's a convenient little package, and you can just eat it away you go. What is the other, the latest and greatest science? The latest science is the sustainability end of things. Apart from that, just having oyster is very good for you and healthy for you. Forget the other thing that I was.
Well, I was going to say, I think when restaurants are looking for sustainable, we see it everywhere in the news about our industry and sustainable practices. This has to be important. This could be a perfect product.
It's too easy. It's shucking. Yeah. It's my formula of KISS. Keep it shucking simple. Shuck oysters. Increase your sustainability quotient in your restaurant tenfold. Save the shells. What are you going to do with the shell? That's a sauce ramekin right there. Use it for sauces because you know what the servers, you know what they do? Well, I know because I used to do it myself. You throw out everything, forks, knives. Nicolau is just like, I love the servers. Thank you for throwing everything out. Another round of ramekins going to Starfish. So I use everything in that sense, and that's another thing. This is a carbon sink. It's the oysters take carbon out of the atmosphere.
No way. Serious?
Calcium carbonate. Blink, blink.
Yeah.
Calcium, carbon is sunk into all of the shells for shellfish, and it sinks. It holds onto it until you release it. If you burn it and release it back into the air, it's going to go back up into carbon in the atmosphere. So as long as it holds like this and you put it into the compost, you crush it, compost it, you can recycle the oyster in this sense as well. You can use this and throw it to the dishwasher because it's perfectly fine to put sauce in it again afterwards, whatever you want to do. But there's lots you can do with the oyster shell afterwards as well. You're going to see something I'm bringing to the restaurant show.
Cool.
I'm doing an oyster shell infusion.
It's
sort of like this.
Okay.
But the flavoring off of an oyster that's green like this has got the algae on the outside, actually creates a clear alcohol into more of a chartreuse color, and it will give off that flavor of ocean.
No way.
I'm going to show you. I'm going to do a tasting. I'm doing a tasting at the restaurant show. I'm doing a workshop on oysters, sort of like this, but a little bit more in person. Yeah. And then I brought tequila. We're going to do it with the tequila. So we're going to do a shuck and tipple. So I pair oysters with spirits. It's not your traditional just wines and champagnes, but I've done oyster and whiskey for a number of years. You can see my collection of whiskeys over here.
I see that.
But now I'm going to do, because it was requested, can you do tequila? Of course. I've got a couple of great oyster farms in Baja California. If you pair it as close to as possible and think of the local flavors, you can absolutely pair into that world. So there's lots you can do with it. As a bartender, it can be one of those ingredients, again, to pair with your cocktail, to make as a cocktail, and then to pair with as a finishing item as well. There's lots of different things you can do with it.
Are you going to do that workshop before or after our podcast?
My workshop is on the Wednesday. So you and I are chatting on the Tuesday, yes? No.
I think we're chatting Wednesday before your workshop or after. I can't remember, but I know it's either going to be really good or really, really good after you got tequila.
That's right. Restaurant show all day. I can't remember now when I'm doing this.
I can't remember when you're over at ours, but
oh no, I'm at 11:30. On the restaurant show, I think you're
right after. I think you're right after.
11:30, and then I've got the shucking contest at 3.
Yeah, you're right before that.
It'll be a busy day.
It'll be a busy day, but you have to bring it by what you're going to do and stuff like that, and you can show Matt.
Oh yeah,
we can make him. Do you think we could get Matt Rolfe to shuck an oyster?
Sure, why not? I got knives.
I don't think Matt's even used a knife before, but
we can do a blindfold if you want. That's cool.
You're awesome, man. You're awesome.
That was crazy to do. Mike Smith doing that one.
I can only imagine. He's amazing. It was so funny. The first time I met Michael Smith is I got on this show where he was on our show a few times, and he got on there, and I hear that voice. I'm like, that voice. I said, I heard that. Like, I don't know how many years that voice is so signature.
It is signature. It's also
a signature voice.
It's calming.
It is.
If you can hear this song, he's got a song in his voice.
Yeah,
he's
he does.
talking about stuff in a certain timbre when he's talking about food that he's passionate of, which is all of it. But how to do it at home, because what's more frustrating is people are stressed out about having to cook at home, and that why he's so good at what he does is he makes you feel calm and cool.
He does.
And
he controls the room with that voice. He just everyone listens.
He does a great job. He did 65,000 oysters, I think, last year. You know, during and through closure and all this type of stuff. He's got this path in his fireworks feast that he takes people through in the forest, and they collect every year. They make a pile of oyster shells, the shell midden.
Oh, okay, I think I've seen that. I think I've seen that. Yeah. I think I've seen that
on the Insta and stuff. You go to his thing and it's there as well.
Awesome. Well, Patrick, I'm not going to keep you long because I know you're busy. You got to go to barbecue. You got to go barbecue.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you. And then we're going to see you at the RC show on the Wednesday.
Yep.
And I'm sure, are you going to be there Tuesday, Monday, and Tuesday as well?
Got to teach on Tuesday. Monday, I'm flying in from. I'll be there Tuesday afternoon. Actually, I'll be at the top to top. So Tuesday afternoon, I'll be there after class. So all students go back to class.
Exactly. Well, then you drop by, and then we'll see you on Wednesday at our show.
Sounds great.
Thanks again for being awesome.
No worries.
Awesome.
We'll see you later.
Thanks so much, Patrick. Have a good one.
You too.